Hi. So this is for the independent reading, but I was able to in the time the month of reading I finished this book. I finished like the remaining 200 pages, and I started on this book. I think for this I'm gonna mainly be talking about this book because I'm like 150 pages in. I'm not that far to like be comfortable with like talking about like what the book is, but I like the book so far. I like it's The Godfather. It's a pretty good book. I like the themes in the book so far because I don't know, I just like it. Um, but what I mainly want to talk about is this book right here. Oh yeah, and also the reason I'm reading this book is that a friend recommended it to me, and he also gave me a copy. So yeah, but shaping up to be a very good book. But this book right here is the book that I want to talk about right now. It's I think I ended like on page 300 and I read like 200 more pages to the end. And where I left off in the last independent reading that I submitted was Nina. Nina left off with her child, and throughout the rest of the book, it's basically Alexander Rostov um, raising the child slowly and surely, and it's him raising the child through all her years and stuff like that. There's this one part in the book where so they play a game. It's like they play a game like Nina like not Nina Sophia likes to trick him, and like she says hi to Count like in the lobby, and then super fast she dashes to the to his room all the way in the sixth floor. She dashes super fast, and and then she like sits down on the chair and like acts like she was just there nonchalantly. And the count one time the count tried to trick her, not trick her. She tried to beat her to it, and so he was like, "All right, all right." And then so he goes up super fast. He beats her to it, but she doesn't come ever. And then you see later she fell down while she was going up the stairs. She fell down the stairs and she's bleeding from her head. And this is the first time in like 20 something years that the count has ever left the hotel because he's under house arrest in the hotel. So that's how important it was to him. He left the hotel. He went to a hospital, but the hospital he went to, it used to be the best hospital in Russia, but now it's some dingy old hospital. But the count rushed to the hospital, breaking his what's it called, his house arrest. And one of the friends he made is a very powerful man in Russia called Osip. Osip saw him at the hospital, like he met him at the hospital when he heard that he was there, and he was like, go back right now. We won't. You've helped me a lot, like learn English and like culture and stuff like that. I think like yeah, the count helped Osip with cultural learnings of like Paris and Russia and that stuff, Paris, Russia, English, and American, and he helped with those cultures. So Osip was like, okay, if you leave right now, there's gonna be no problem because if the count left his house arrest, they would have just executed him. But yeah, that was the one time the count left. The count ever left his house and stuff like that. And also something very sad happened. A lot of sad things happened near the end. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I'm gonna read an excerpt. It was so his best friend Mishka died. I think I talked about him a little in the last one. Mishka died, and it was his best friend in the whole world. He couldn't see him that much because Mishka's always busy and stuff like that. And yeah, and then so Mishka died, and it was very sad because the count was excited to see him again, and then he found out that he died and something like that. And his wife, Mishka's wife, gave the count Mishka's what Mishka had been working on, sort of. He like it's kind of like his referendum, not referendum. I'm sorry, his basically the thing he's been working on, the book, the project he's been working on. And I'm gonna read the excerpt of like the project and something like that. And I'm gonna read that excerpt. Might be a little while, but also I want to talk about I'll read it right now, and then I'll talk about what else I want to talk about. I'm sorry if this might be a little long. And yet he had kept the picture of all of these years. With a sorrowful smile, the count set the photograph down and then turned the title leaf on the first page of his old friend's book. All it contained was a single quotation in slightly uneven typeset. And to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and you have eaten eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, you shall not eat of. Cursed is the ground because of you. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. You are dust, and to dust you shall return. Genesis 3:17-19. The count turned to the second page, on which there was one quotation. And the tempter came and said to him, If you are the Son of God, command these stones and become loaves of bread. But he answered, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Matthew 4:3-4. And then to the third, and he took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to him, saying, This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance for me. Luke 22:19. As the count continued to turn slowly through the pages, he found himself laughing, for here was Mishka's project in a nutshell, a compendium of quotations from seminal texts arranged in chronological order, but in each of which the word bread had been capitalized and printed in bold. Beginning with the Bible, the citations proceeded right through the words of the Greeks on the Romans, onto likes of Shakespeare, Milton, and Goethe. But particular tribute was paid to the golden age of Russian literature. For the sake of propriety, Ivan Yakovlevich put his tailcoat on over his undershirt and, settling at the table, poured out some salt, prepared 2 onions, took a knife into his hands, and, assuming a significant air, began cutting the bread. Having cut the loaf in two, he looked in the middle end, and to his surprise he saw something white. Ivan Yakovlevich poked it cautiously with his knife and felt with his finger. Firm, he said to himself. What could it be? He stuck his fingers and pulled out a nose. The nose. Nikolai Gogol, 1836. When a man isn't meant to live upon earth, the sunshine doesn't warm him as it does others, and bread doesn't nourish him and make him strong. A sportsman sketches, Ivan Turgenev. The past and the present merged together. He was dreaming he had reached the promised land flowing with milk and honey, where people ate bread they had not earned and went clothed in gold and silver. Oblomov, Ivan Goncharov. I'm sorry, I'm very bad at pronouncing Russian people's names. It's all nonsense, he said softly, and there was nothing to be troubled about, just some physical disorder. 1 glass of beer, 1 piece of dry bread, and see, in an instant, mind gets stronger and thoughts get clearer, the intentions firmer. Crime and punishment. Fyodor Dostoevsky. I, the vile Lebedev, do not believe in the carts that deliver bread to mankind, for the carts that deliver bread to all mankind, without any moral foundation for their action, may quite cold-bloodedly exclude a considerable part of mankind from enjoying what they delivered. The idiot, Fyodor Dostoevsky. Do you see these stones in this bare, scorching desert? Turn them into bread, and mankind will run after you like sheep, grateful and obedient. But you did not want to deprive man of freedom and rejected his offer. For what sort of freedom is it? You reasoned, if obedience is bought with loaves of bread? From The Grand Inquisitor, Brothers of Karamazov, Fyodor Dostoevsky. As the Count turned the pages, he smiled in recognition of the characteristic fetishness that Mishka's products express. But the following quote from The Grand Inquisitor, there was a second citation from the Brothers Karamazov, from a scene that the Count had all forgotten. It was related to the boy Ilyushkevich, the one who hounded by his soulmates until falling dangerously ill. When the boy finally dies, his heart-sickened father tells the saintly Alyosha Karamazov that his son had made one final request. Papa, when they put dirt on my grave, crumble a crust of bread on it so that the sparrows will come, and I'll hear that they've come and be glad that I'm not lying alone. Upon reading this, Alexander Rostov finally broke down and wept. Certainly he had wept for his friends, that generous yet temperamental soul, who briefly found his moment in time, and who, like the forlorn child, was disinclined to condemn the world for all of its injustice. But of course the Count also wept for himself, and despite his friendships with Marina and Andrei and Emil, despite his love for Anna, despite Sophia, the extraordinary blessing that had struck him from the blue, with Miklav Fjordich Mindich died, there was Laszlo's, who had been younger man. Though, as Katrina had so rightfully observed, at least he remained to remember. Taking a deep breath, the Count attempted to restore his composure. Determined to read through the final pages of his old friend discourse, the progression of citations, which had spanned over 2,000 years, did not continue much further, for rather than extending into the present, the survey ended in June 1904, with the sentence that Mishka had cut from Chekhov's letters all those years ago. Here in Berlin, we've taken a comfortable room in the best hotel. I am very much enjoying life here, and I've eaten very well, and with such appetite for a long time. The bread here is amazing. I've been stuffing myself with it. The coffee is excellent, and the dinner is beyond words. People who have never been abroad don't know how good bread can be. Given the hardships of the 1930s, the Count supposed that he could understand why Shamalov and his jury had insisted upon a little bit of censorship, having presumed that Chekhov's observation could only lead to feelings of discontent or ill will. But the irony, of course, was that Chekhov's observations was no longer accurate. For surely by now the Russian people knew better than anyone in Europe how good a piece of bread could be. When the Count closed Mishka's book, he did not head straight downstairs to join the others. Instead, he remained in his study, lost in thought. Given the circumstances, an observer might understandably have drawn the conclusion as the Count sat there, he was dwelling on memories of his old friend, but in fact he was no longer thinking about Mishka. He was thinking about Katrina in particular. He was thinking with a sense of foreboding that in the course of 20 years, this firefly, this pinwheel, this wonder of the world who had become a woman who, when asked where she was going, could answer without the slightest hesitation, "Does it matter?" That is Mishka. That I very much enjoyed reading that part in A Gentleman in Moscow. But I'm sorry, this is very long. But to end it, I want to say that I really enjoyed Sophia's character growth and development throughout the whole story. In the whole story, Sophia becomes like an absolutely stunning person, like super talented with the arts, amazing piano playing and all that, and she gets invited at 18 to she kind of gets forced to leave Moscow and go to France to what's it called, to be to like play piano in the galas and stuff like that. And the way Alexander and Sophia like say bye to each other, it kind of hit deep to me, because I have to say bye to like my brother who's leaving to college soon. Because, well, he hasn't left because of COVID, but I have to say bye to me. You kind of saw him walk in there, but I have to say bye to my brother leaving for college soon, and it just made me sad because when they said goodbye, instead of talking about like the future, what would happen in the future, they talked about their past. They talked about anecdotes that they had, the fun times they had, and it just made me really sad, and it made me cry when I read that part, because I have someone I have to say goodbye to as well. But yeah, and the ending was really happy. Sophia went to France, and what Rostov did. Sophia didn't want to go to France. What Rostov did was he left the hotel. He left the hotel. He had like this grandiose way of leaving the hotel, like without having anyone notice him, because he's such an important part to the hotel. He had this grandiose way of leaving, and what's it called? And then they met in Alexander Rostov's old what's it called? They met in his old home, his old town, and yeah, it was really, I really enjoyed the book. I'm definitely gonna be talking about The Godfather on the next independent reading, but I don't feel comfortable with only reading 150 pages of it. But yeah, I'm sorry for making this 13 minutes. I talk a lot. I'm sorry.